Hello, welcome back to another zoo vlog. This is Ian speaking. You are hearing me from a different format this time. Being that I didn't really talk much during Wednesday's recordings, I am pre-recording my narration over the video to tell you what's going on. So here, I stopped by at the wattled crane family to find that the chick is actually nearly as big as his own parents. They're taking really good care of him, and you could just see them. They're all hanging out in the open. One of the parents is digging there in the dirt, and the baby's just hanging out in the pool right there. He's got a little bit ways left to grow, but he's almost there. And here we got Faraja, the giraffe, chewing on some grass. And we got Rumpelstiltskin just hanging out under a tree. And here we got Saban, the jaguar, lurking behind the grass, behind the mesh. He, in particular, was actually very active today. He doesn't normally walk around like this. There was actually a guest who mistaken him for a cheetah, a little kid who then was corrected by his father, saying that he's indeed a jaguar. Now, a good thing to tell apart jaguars from leopards is that jaguars have the rosetta with those dots that you see there in the center, while the leopards, the dots inside the rosettas, are absent. Also, the jaguars are a bit smaller than the leopards. So you can see here he's actually doing a potty break right now. Also, I didn't notice this until I actually reviewed the footage. There's actually a lizard hanging out right there on the mesh, and a knoll of some species. He's such a beautiful cat. And there he goes to rest under the shade, since it was particularly hot on this day. It's too bad the mesh couldn't actually disappear with me focusing on his face there. Though what I did thankfully catch was a really cool vocalization he was doing. He ended up doing a sudden territorial call out of nowhere, which caught me off guard. And of course, it was around one of those moments when I was actually talking during audio, so you'll probably hear it right now.
Usually they're sleeping. Oh, he's doing a territorial call. That caught me off guard.
And here's typical cat behavior right here. As soon as I go over to see if he'll make any more vocalizations, he decides to rest his head on the log once again to go back to sleep. Just goes to show that big cats are not really all that different compared to our house cats. That was a spotted stingray that lives with the anaconda in the Lost Temple. And here we are at the Emerald Forest Aviary, where we see some black-bellied whistling ducks just making their way towards the water for a drink. And here's this guy right here, known as a boat-billed heron. Saw him perched up on this vine right here, and I thought his eye looked pretty freaky, so of course I wanted to get a good shot of that. I mean, just look at him. Look at him with his freaky black eye and his boat bill. And here we have an Inca terran. Very swift-looking bird flying off to the ground there. And then from there, jumping directly to the lorikeet aviary within the Australia section, we see Resilla the Kookaburra being a Kookaburra. She sang for me for a little bit. Also shows that she really enjoys bathing in the water. Of course, I actually wanted to get a better shot of her diving into it, so I waited patiently for her to make the decision to jump in once again. It took about a minute and a half to wait for her to do it again, so you could see her perched up on that vine there, kind of fluffed out, drying off, but she is kind of thinking about it. So let's see if she'll do it. Good job, girl. Though the one thing I didn't really expect her to do was almost dive bomb me. So she did that. And then she proceeded to perch on another vine, where she then fluffed herself out to dry off. A cool fact about the Kookaburras is that they are actually the largest species of kingfisher existing on Earth. And they have such a unique song to them. Only occurring in Australia for the most part. And another animal that occurs mostly in Australia is the southern wallaby, which is this little guy right here. I always think of them as like giant rabbits, though they are indeed marsupials. Very cute little creatures. And then jumping to Asia, we see one of the male Malayan tigers. I believe this might be Jaya. Here, since it was hot out, he decided to take a dip into the little stream in front of the waterfall, making a very nice photogenic opportunity for me to capture. As you can see, their coloration is very beautiful when the sunlight shines on them. And right here is what I call the posing pose here. He's just posing for pictures right now. And he's also doing a bit of vocalizations as well. Most likely because directly on the other side of the viewing building, like, the windows are gigantic and the tigers can see one another through the building. So he's probably seeing this group of tigers here. These are the Sumatran tigers. You can see how much more fuzzy and fluffier they are, as well as how many stripes they actually have. Now these are the family of 3. You can see this is Lucy and her children. And they're actually almost as big as her. It won't be long until they're actually going to get territorial with one another, to the point where the staff are going to have to separate them to have their own spaces, as how tigers would naturally do in the wild. They're very solitary by nature. And here we are back at the Africa Loop, towards the end of the day. This is the boardwalk heading towards the rhino habitat. You can see the tree there full of wood storks populating the canopies of it, as I spoke of in previous zoo vlogs. It's nearing that time where every single branch has a nest in it. And there's also an abundance of black vultures, a naturally occurring species in Florida. You can see them perching up there. Kind of goofy, but they do help keep the area clean of carrion, which is another term for dead animals, things like that. And yeah, this was actually near closing time, so I was making my way back. You can see Archie the rhino right there, just grazing about. He's doing well. And that about wraps it up for this week's zoo vlog. I hope you enjoyed more wild encounters with me. And here's one last piece of footage of Goober, the Aldabra tortoise, just hanging out in the sun. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see y'all in the next zoo vlog real soon. Stay wild, my friends.
Ah, Goober.